Welcome to another episode of UCRD Reviews. So today we have the very first P Bandai entry in the Mobile Suit Gundam 8th MS Team line. This one's the RX-79G Gundam Ground Type Desert version anime. So this is the desert equipment version of the Ground Gundam that we saw in episode 6 of 8th MS Team. It looks like a normal Ground Gundam, but has some slight changes for combat in a sandy desert environment. Most notably, the covers on the joints to prevent sand from getting in there and messing up the mechanics. So it's interesting that we got this one. It actually appeared in the North American MSiA line as a straight repaint of the Ground Gundam figure. This is a long time ago, and we haven't really seen it since. So I'm excited to have this figure. I like this figure. I also don't like it, and I'll explain why in the review. But I mean, it is based on the normal Ground Gundam sculpt, which is really good. But we'll get into more detail on that, and let's go ahead and open this thing up and talk about it. So here's the desert version, Ground Gundam, and we'll get straight into why I both love and hate this figure. It's based on the Ground Gundam figure, which I like quite a bit. I mean, it's a really well-made, detailed figure. What I don't like about it is actually the paint. You can see obviously it's a very different, more washed-out tan color than the normal Ground Gundam. And the reasoning behind that is the way it appears in episode 6 of 8th MS Team. They're in the desert, there's a lot of sunlight, and everything has this kind of washed out appearance. But that's not how the Ground Gundam is actually colored in the show, it's just how it appears because of the sunlight. So I would rather have had a normal colored Ground Gundam, perhaps with weathering on it. I think would have been better. But this is what we had, and if you're really into recreating scenes from the anime, I mean, you'd want it in this color. So I can see where it makes sense. It's just I personally would have wanted it in a standard coloring. Now I'm not going to go through articulation on this one, just because I just reviewed the Ground Gundam. If you want to see articulation in detail, it's exactly the same as the other figure, and you can check that out in the link below. But I wanted to mainly show off the coloring and the differences. So in the chest here, you can see there's no yellow vent here anymore. That's different. The arms here, you see the sand covers. Same with here on the elbows and even on the wrists. There are sand covers. The knee joints here are different. The foot molds are actually completely different, all the way down from the ankle and the top of the foot as well. So quite a few differences, and there's also some new stuff in its list of accessories. So let's take a look at those. So just like before, I'm going to fly through the accessories that we've seen with the Ground Gundam and just very briefly cover them. If you want to see them in detail, check out the Ground Gundam review link in the description below. So starting with the hands, we have the hand rack, two different sets of opposing hands, your beam saber hands, and your gun hands. All of them work really well. They're sculpted abnormally well. They look better than most sets of hands, so really nice. We also get two beam sabers, just like the other release. Go ahead and grab a beam saber blade to get these out. So they're just colored different. This is the handle here, and then the blade will attach, and again you get two of each of these. You get the 100mm machine gun, which is again exactly the same as the Ground Gundams. It is just painted slightly different with the removable magazine there. You have a replacement antenna up here. This is the backpack, which again looks the same, has the ball jointed effect part compatible thrusters, and just pops right in there. It will accept the storage pack that the normal Ground Gundam comes with, which is nice. And then we have the shield, which yet again, same thing, colored different. Looks really nice. Now we'll get into the new stuff, starting with the shield. So as you know, the shield can connect to the arm. It can also rotate forward when it's connected to the arm to kind of become a punching device. But one feature we did not get before that we have now is the ability to connect it to the backpack. So this little tiny piece here just pegs onto the backpack. See if I can get it on there. Possibly. There we go. And it'll just sit right like that, and then you can plug the shield into it and turn it however you want. So this is a feature that the well, there's lots of features here that the MSiA didn't have, but this is one that I always wanted that the MSiA couldn't do. I actually modified one of my old figures to accept the shield on the back, so I like that. And then you get the beam rifle for the first time, which will also come with the Ground GM later on, but this is the Ground Gundam beam rifle, which looks really nice. It's painted well. The handle can move either side, but not as far as I'd like. In the anime it went a full 90 degrees, and it can't quite do that. Also, when you're posing with it, you can see there's a stress mark on mine. That is completely my fault. I was using these hands to hold on to the handle here, and because of that little lip that's there, it just didn't want to fit into the hand. So from now on I'm probably going to use either one of these or even this hand to hold this front handle of the beam rifle so I don't damage it further. The camera also moves, but again, it's a little disappointing. That's about as far as it goes, and in the anime it would come all the way 90 degrees. It is effect part compatible at least. And now that I've thrown the beam rifle, I did want to add there is a hard point here, as well as a little tiny peg there. I don't know if those will get utilized in the future for storage, because as it is now, it doesn't really come apart to store in the backpack like the MSiA version did. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that. The last new weapon here is the net gun, which, unlike the beam rifle, you'll notice the machine gun and the net gun are actually, colored to be kind of washed out, and the beam rifle is not, which is interesting. So the beam rifle can be used with your normal Ground Gundam pretty easily. The net gun, this may be how its color is. I honestly can't remember. It is effect part compatible. Back here, I don't really know why. You have the camera, which actually looks pretty cool. It can rotate around. You see it's painted red there and then green here. This handle can move back and forth, and then you have this one that can rotate and fold forward or backward. The net projectile can also come off. It is in there very good, almost like it doesn't want to come out. There we go. It is like completely wedged in there, so try not to break anything, but a cool weapon that we didn't get from the original MSiA version, so pretty neat. And then lastly here we get some effect parts. We get some thruster effects, which actually have the ball jointed pegs here so that you can move them around. We've seen these before in several figures. I don't think the Ground Gundam original release didn't come with any thruster effects, so that was nice. Then you have a two-piece effect part here. See if I can get it out. I'll just grab it like that. So this is a beam rifle firing effect that we also had with the normal Ground Gundam release, except this time we actually have a beam rifle, which is kind of nice. We also get a machine gun firing effect, which is cool, since we also have a machine gun. Looks nice. And then we have the slashing beam saber effect. So much better effect parts this time around than the normal Ground Gundam release. So here we have the Desert Spec Ground Gundam with the regular release, and obviously there's big color differences, but I did want to show the differences in the sculpt. You can see the right side of the chest there is completely different. The arms, we'll kind of whip them around here. The elbows are sculpted slightly different. You can see there's a bit of detail there that is not present over here. Same with the wrists. You can see the remnants of the sand filter in the wrist here, whereas there's nothing on this side. And then going back around to the back of the legs, you can see there's a little bit more detail on the knee joint here, as well as the back of the feet. Bottom of the feet are the same, they're just painted different. And then the sides of the legs, this is where the most differences are. You can see from the ankle down is almost completely different. And then the front of the legs aren't really all that different. This is just no longer a vent there. So pretty cool. I like that they made the extra effort to sculpt all the differences in there. So nice little details. So this Ground Gundam release was very famously put on the market for $58 and change, and then quickly pulled from the pre-order pages and reissued at $71 and change. So I think there was at least on Nin Game, there was a pricing issue. And I remember, thinking $58 was really good for a P Bandai release, and then they switched it on everybody, canceled everybody's order, threw everybody for a loop, and then brought it back at a higher price, which I thought was a little bit shady, but what are you going to do? Not pay it? Not get the figure? I think it's worth it. Even at 78, comes with a lot of accessories, a lot of new stuff. It looks really nice. I personally don't like the color scheme, but other than that, it's a really solid figure, and it'll look really great posed with all the other figures. The net gun is cool, but not really my favorite. I'm glad we have it in figure form, but not something I'm probably going to pose it with a whole lot. The beam rifle is a little bit of a disappointment, mainly because of that fragile front handle and the degree of movement in both the handle and the camera. It's not as much as you saw in the anime, and being a version anime figure, I think that would be very important. I was kind of hoping for a Vulcan firing effect for this figure this time around, but we didn't get anything like that. But I don't know, other than that, I think it's a pretty solid release. Let me know if you got this one, or if you're just waiting for the other releases. We have the GM Ground type is, I believe, the next 8th MS Team release, as well as the second weapon set that'll be coming through here, so I'll be reviewing those as well. So let me know if you got it, let me know what you think. Thank you for supporting the channel, and I'll see you next time.